as far as the oxygenation is concerned. I will not be going into the details, certain basic principles that I am going to highlight. As far as the mild illness is concerned, oxygenation is normal. If at all they are requiring, they will be requiring just 1 liter, 2 liter, 3 liter of the oxygen per minute in this particular individuals. And what is required is, once the condition is settling down, should attempt to lower the oxygen supplementation as fast as possible, so that it can be, the patient should be maintaining a SpO2 on room air. So that should be the basic principle. However, these mild illness patients, what is required is, though we are labeling them as mild illness cases, further coming days are going to decide whether they are going to land up with the moderate illness or they are going to land up with the severe illness. And hence, what is required is to identify the red flag signs, the warning signs in this particular individual, to keep watch all the time on this particular individuals, whether they are deteriorating or not. Like say for example SpO2, when it is becoming less than 94% in a patient who has mild illness, when the neutrophil lymphocytic count is going up more than 3.5%, mild illness in a patient who has mild illness, the patient is developing resting tachycardia, the PF ratio is becoming, the PF ratio, ARDS ratio what we call it, is becoming less than 300, and 6-minute walk test is inducing deoxygenation. That means more than 3% drop in the SpO2 is there when somebody is asking the patient to walk for a 6 minute and observing for the SpO2 drop in this particular individual. Then again, these are the warning signs. That means these patients, they require extra care, and the caution is required in this particular individuals, and the appropriate strategy, appropriate management will be requiring at that particular stage, at what particular stage the patient is required. Again, I will highlight here the importance of awake proning. When somebody is requiring oxygenation, awake proning, let it be a mild illness, awake proning is going to be again very, very important. As far as the moderate illness is concerned and oxygenation is concerned, very basic principle. This is moderate illness, the patient has got pneumonitis, they will require more oxygen, and more oxygen that can be attempted by giving, say, high flow oxygen device, through the high flow oxygen devices. And again, the principle is try to give maximum, but then you should also scale it down as fast as possible once the patient starts improving. These patients sometimes they require non-invasive ventilation, specifically when the respiratory rate is more than 35 and when the PF ratio is less than 200. Again, in this particular patient, what is required is monitoring. These patients need to be placed in the ICU. They may not be having place in the ICU, but then if there is no place in the ICU, we are supposed to monitor frequently in these particular individuals. Respiratory rate, the SpO2, every 15 to 30 minute monitoring that is required. Again, I will like to stress upon you the importance of awake proning. These patients are, these patients are awake, they can be counseled, they can be told about this proning, they can be left lateral position, right lateral position, semi-reclined position, or say proning position every 2 hours. That should be attempted in this particular individuals, and mind well, this really helps in this particular patient. What about the severe cases? Severe cases, those who are in ARDS, those who are in MODS, those who are in septic shock, their oxygenation is very poor, they are requiring NIV, they may require intubation, and they may require a mechanical ventilation. Mechanical ventilation is really required if the patients are on NIV and they are deteriorating, PO2 FiO2 ratio is going down, the PO2 FiO2 ratio is becoming less than 150, one should not delay in intubating and giving a mechanical ventilation, in the invasive ventilation in this particular patient. I think I will not be going into the details of the whatever ventilatory parameters that we are supposed to adjust. As far as the NIV is concerned, this is our observation, many of the patients they require NIV. What is required in this particular patient? Counseling is very important. Patient cooperation is very important when the patients are put on the NIV. Importance of tight fitting the mask for generating the high PEEP. After all, the high PEEP that is required, that we are using help of with the help for this NIV management, right? So a tight fitting mask should be used, and then all 3 tubing ends two tubing ends to the NIV and one to the patient should be connected all the time. It should not happen that the one tube is not connected and we are finding the SpO2 is down, and what we are finding that the SpO2 drought that we are finding, we are going to the ventilator, we are finding that the why it is delivering, the tidal volume is delivering, why the SpO2 is going down. Actually the tube disconnection that we should always look for. The rise tube should be placed in the NIV dependent patients. One should always attempt to check for the subcutaneous emphysema in this particular individual, because when the patients are, this is very common complication that we are observing. Then again the importance of the proning, left lateral position or lateral position is also going to be very important. Monitoring is also going to be important. I think the CAR protocol I won't be going, various positions those can be given. This is how in a pictorial format you find that. This is the proning position that is attempted, this is the right lateral position, this is semi-reclined position, this is what the left lateral position is attempted, and again the proning position every 2 hours. It does not mean that it should be a 2-hour business all the time in one particular position. If the patient is not comfortable in that particular position, patient can be switched over from left lateral to right lateral position, sometimes the reclined position, and all the time when the position is changed, we are supposed to see for the SpO2, we are supposed to see for the pulse, we are supposed to see for the blood pressure in this particular, whether it is getting maintained or not. This is a very, very important slide. Nowadays we are coming across the paucity of the oxygen that is there. One thing I would like to highlight, 1 liter of the oxygen saved almost is equal to the 1 life saved. 1 liter of the oxygen that is saved. And how can we reduce or minimize the oxygen consumption in this particular patient? Very simple things. If you remember 3 to 4 basic principles in this particular patients, we can really save the oxygen. One of the principle is our target oxygen saturation. Previously we used to think it should be more than 95%, 96%. Now we should target it 93 to 94, 95%. 94% is enough. 93, even 92%, I will say 92%, 93%, 94% is enough. The target oxygen saturation that should be maintained is 92. And it is a restrictive oxygen strategy, really evidence already is there, and actually it improves the mortality in this particular. So this is one basic principle to save the oxygen. Another one is taper the oxygen quickly. It should not happen like this. Somebody is receiving 6 liter, 8 liter is going on since morning, afternoon, evening, throughout the night. Should not happening. Should not be happening, right? Over a period of time, oxygen requirement goes down, specifically in mild illness cases or moderate illness cases. We should pick up that particular point per time from 8 liter to 6 liter, 6 liter to 4 liter as early as possible, so that on 4 liter the patient SpO2 is getting maintained. So give it. So SpO2 on 4 liter, 1 hour, 95% reduce it. So this strategy, taper the oxygen as quickly as possible to maintain it up to 92, 93 to 95%. That is second. Again, the importance of the proning I like to highlight. Proning in this particular patient, I tell you 10% rise is going to be there, 15% rise in oxygenation, SpO2 is going to be there. So the prone ventilation is going to be there, is again very, very important. That is going to save the oxygen consumption in this particular patients. Another thing is, I told you about the high flow nasal oxygenation. High flow nasal cannula should not be used. 80% oxygen, that is almost a waste, should not be used in this particular patient. And when it is really required to give high flow nasal oxygenation, then it should be in the form of non-invasive ventilation. When the patients are on invasive ventilation, our saturation aim should be 88 to 92% and the PO2 aim should be 55 to 65 millimeters of mercury. Again, even though the patient is in invasive ventilation, proning is very, very important. Proning in invasive ventilator patient is also going to be helpful. Importantly, again, all the oxygen outlets, those are there, should be periodically looked for, whether there is a leaking oxygen ports, those are there, oxygen outlets, those are there, and if at all they are found, should be corrected as fast as possible. Oxygen flow meters, those are there, right? It should not be like this. Patients, when they are awake, they are eating, they are taking some water and so on and so forth, or they are going for the toilet, their SpO2 is 94%, they are allowed to go for this thing because the SpO2 that can be there is almost to the tune of 91%, okay, that can be accepted. But then, when the patients are going in that particular thing, it should not happen like this. The oxygen flow is going on, the patients, the nasal mask is taken out and the oxygen, it is all again the waste that is there. So this oxygen flow meter should be made off whenever it is not required in this, and really it matters as far as the oxygen consumption is concerned. As far as the surgery is concerned, all routine surgeries should be cancelled during this particular period of the crisis where the oxygen requirement in many patients are going to be there. As far as the oxygen concentrators are concerned, use only oxygen concentrators for home care, and it should be the cylinders for the hospitals and healthcare facilities, those should be used. And the oxygen audit is going to be very important. I think it is in practice nowadays. The authorities are coming to look for whether the oxygen is given in a proper dosage, or whether the oxygen outlets are, leakage is not there, right? The oxyflowmeters are made off or not, and so on and so forth. All these things are looked after, and this really is going to be helpful to save the oxygen in these particular patients.